video, we will be discussing how DNA fingerprinting could have been used to crack open the infamous Golden State Killer case. The Golden State Killer was a serial killer and sexual predator active from 1973 to 1986. During that time, his DNA was found at several crime scenes. However, it was not positively identified until 2018 when one of his relatives took an ancestry DNA test. Detectives quickly got to work figuring out which family members would have been alive at the time and fit the killer's profile. After much searching, they were able to narrow down their suspects to 4 men. They collected DNA samples from trash cans outside the suspects' homes. Using PCR for 2 VNTR loci followed by gel electrophoresis, investigators created DNA fingerprints for all individuals. In order for one's DNA fingerprint to be matched to the DNA found at the crime scene, both of their alleles must match the sample alleles at all loci. On the top we have the gel for VNTR locus 1. Let's start with the victim. Here we see that the sample allele migrated farther towards the positive pole, indicating that it is shorter in length than the victim's allele. For the second allele, the victim's DNA fragment has migrated farther in the gel, and thus neither of their alleles match and they can be excluded. Moving on to suspect 1, we observe that both of their alleles at this locus align with the sample. Therefore, we cannot rule them out. For suspect 2, one of their alleles exactly matches the sample, but the other does not. Because both alleles do not match, suspect 2 could not have left behind this sample. For suspect 3, both of their alleles match the sample, so we cannot rule them out. Lastly, suspect 4 matches only one allele from the sample, and therefore we can cross them out. From this VNTR locus, police narrowed down their investigation to suspect 1 and suspect 3. However, they had to evaluate VNTR locus 2 on the bottom to be certain about which suspect was the killer. One of the victim's alleles matches our sample, but the other does not, so they can be ruled out again at this locus. Next, we see that suspect 1 does not have either of the sample alleles, and although they were a match at the first locus, a suspect must match the sample at all loci to be our perp, and therefore they can be ruled out. Both of suspect 2's alleles match the sample. However, they did not match up exactly at locus 1, and therefore they can still be ruled out. Suspect 3's alleles align with the sample perfectly, so they still cannot be eliminated. And finally, suspect 4 is not a match for either of the sample alleles, and therefore they can be excluded again. Looking at both gels, the investigators were able to determine that the only one of the suspects that matched their DNA evidence at both loci was suspect 3, aka Joseph James DeAngelo. After 45 years of searching, police were finally able to apprehend the man responsible for 13 murders and more than 50 sexual assaults. To their surprise, DeAngelo had actually served as a California police officer from 1973 to 1979 during his killing spree. As it turns out, suspect 2 was actually his father. This is evident from the way suspects 2 and 3 share at least one allele at both loci, as biological parents each donate one allele to their offspring at every loci.